This is a very short lecture for Chapter 8, How to Work with Data Types. And we're still in SQL Query and Review number 2. It's our third week. So at the end of this chapter, you should know how to change a data type from one data type into another. And there are different techniques for doing that. And there are some considerations you need to be aware of before you actually change something or load something into another data type. So you should pay attention to these things. And there are different categories of data types. The main ones are string, and this is character values like names and things like that. Numeric data types. Temporal means it has to do with dates or time, and other things like sound and videos and stuff like that. So to code a datetime literal, you enclose the datetime value in single quotes. If you don't specify a time in a datetime value, the time defaults to 12 a.m. You should be aware of that. And if you don't specify a date in the datetime value, the date defaults to January 1st, 1900. So hopefully you're aware, if you look at the date time fields in our databases, they contain not just the date, but the time. So if you're not specific and you're not aware of that, you could get some unexpected results. Let's go on. There are ways to change the format of or the display of different dates, and you don't have to memorize these. There are so many different parameters you can choose. They're all available online, so just search on them and you should be okay. So let's just take a quick look at a few things that you should be aware of. Hopefully you remember a little bit. So we're using the AP database, and if you want to change the value or the data type from one data type to another, you can use the cast function. So in this case, we're looking at the invoices table, and we're going to change the invoice date into three different or the invoice date into a character, so change from a date to a character. We're going to change the invoice total, which is a number, into an integer. And we're going to change the invoice total into a character field, which may be kind of weird, but let's take a look. So date fields contain both date and time. If you change the date field to just a character, you'll actually get a decent format. So this, you'll probably agree, is easier to read than this. So to change the date field into some format that is more readable, you actually change it to a character field. In this case, varchar. Now, if I change the dollar value invoice total into an integer, I'm going to get rid of all the decimal places. And then if I change the invoice total, which is a number, into a character field, it's going to keep the decimals, but it's no longer a number, so you can't really add it to anything. You'd have to change it back to a number. Okay, so that's the cast function, and this is the one that's most portable. Most SQL or relational databases support the cast function. However, Microsoft SQL Server also has something called a convert, and I think there's another database that supports this, but SQL Server is the main one. So convert does the same thing as cast. The syntax is slightly different, but it also gives you a little more formatting choices. So in this case, we're going to convert invoice date to a character field, and then we're going to use different format or styles is the word. And again, you can just look these up. This is convert styles or date styles or number styles for SQL Server. So let's go ahead and execute this and take a look at the different options. So instead of saying cast invoice date as varchar, we're going to say convert varchar, comma, invoice date. Syntax slightly different, close enough. But now if we want to use the style for the date, we're changing to varchar and style 1, we get this format. So if I specify I want a very specific format of how you display the date or time, then you should look up that specific format or time. If I say I want it in 12/08/15, then you need to look it up and find out that, well, that's style 1. And if I wanted this format, then that's style 107. And so we're now converting the invoice to dollar into a character field, okay. And we're changing this one to a character field. I'm not sure what the difference is between these two. Okay. I think that's it, really. I mean, there is so many options for this stuff. We're certainly not going to cover them all. You can look them up if you need them. If a data type doesn't work for you for whatever reason, then you have to change it. And the ways to change it are cast or convert. Okay. That's it for Chapter 8.